An embargo section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. No live tweeting during the broadcast section, please, and use the microphone provided. James.
Hi, Ange. Hey. This weekend, are you able to welcome back Destiny Udogie and Pedro Porro?
Destiny's a chance. Yeah, he's trained, and we'll just see how he pulls up. Pedro's probably another week away.
And since your last match against Crystal Palace, it's been 6 wins, 6 defeats, and 3 draws. How do you feel like your side has coped during that period?
Sort of, I guess, mixed in many respects. I mean, we've obviously had some challenges in there in terms of injuries and disruptions and so forth. So I think for the most part we've been competitive. Has our football sort of, been at the level we want? Probably not. But, I think the lads' sheer effort and will and like I said, competitiveness has allowed us to sort of still be in the position we are.
The majority of the squad nearly available now. Is the target between now and the end of the season remaining in that Champions League spot?
Well, firstly, we do have a couple of injuries. So Rich Allison's out for 3-4 weeks. He picked up a knee injury in the last game, so he'll be out for a little while. We obviously lost, obviously Ryan had a bit of a setback, or a big setback after the last game. We're still down a couple of numbers. But in terms of now and the end of the year, nothing different from the start of the year is to, try and keep progressing our football and finish the season strong and try and keep developing our players in our game style so that we're see where that takes us this year, but more importantly, how it sets us up for years to come.
Charlie.
Hi, Ange. I wanted to start off by congratulating you on the Manager of the Year award at the London Football Awards. On a personal level, coming into your first season in the Premier League, how proud did that award make you?
Yeah, look, I think I said last night, it's a bit, it was a bit weird because it's only February and sort of just into March, and I'm not really sure where that sort of fits in terms of recognition. Having said that, I think at least it is an acknowledgement of the work that we've done probably since the start of the year, and coming back off a disappointing year for the club last year. I guess we as a group have made an impact, so it's an acknowledgement of that. So you need to sort of appreciate that and feel honoured that that sort of award, for want of a better word, was bestowed upon me. But like I said, we've still got a fair chunk of the season to go, and our sights are sort of firmly ahead. It was nice to be there, though. It was a great cause, the Willow Foundation. I got to meet Bob Wilson and had a great chat with Harry Redknapp, which was nice as well. So still a bit of a fan with those things. Bumped into a few legends, so it was still a nice night.
And in terms of your team, I mean, by the time you play tomorrow, you will have had 2 weeks between games. So how have you used that time? Have you given the players much time off, and has the focus in training been more on tactics or more fitness?
No, we kind of try to use it as a sort of semi-normal week without a game. I guess I haven't had any time off. We just trained right through and taken the opportunity to try to keep working on our game and those kind of things. It's hasn't been ideal. It's felt a bit like that all season. It's just been a really disruptive season for us. I think apart from maybe the first sort of 10, 11 games where we were kind of playing regularly and we had a bit of sort of momentum and rhythm, it just seems that we've just had a lot of sort of stop and starts to our season, and obviously we've got a couple of games, and then again there's the international break, and then obviously after the international break, at least we know then that we'll have some regular football till the end of the year.
And finally from me, in terms of Crystal Palace, they've undergone a managerial change. Their manager, Oliver Glasner, was at the Wolves game. How hard is it to prepare to take on a team who have recently undergone a managerial change, in your opinion?
Yeah, look, it's always, I guess, a little bit challenging because a lot of your sort of scouting, you try and get some consistencies in play and look at teams in recent games. But whenever there's a new manager, obviously things adjust naturally. Usually there's a positive effect when a new manager comes in, and I think you saw that last week with the way Crystal Palace sort of went about things. Oliver's a very well-credentialed coach. He had, particularly at Frankfurt, he produced a really strong team and a real distinct style of play, and I think, you'll probably see elements of that. But at the same time, I still think we're at this sort of stage of our development where real emphasis is still on us and playing our football and making sure that, we bring the kind of energy and commitment to our game that we've shown at times this year, but also the effort that's got us to where we are right now. So that'll be our main focus.
Hi Ange, how are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
You mentioned there Richarlison out for 3 to 4 weeks. Ryan Sessegnon on setback for him. With Richarlison, he's shown some really good form, so massive blow, I guess, for you. And with Ryan, immense talent, but you haven't been able to see the best of it, and we haven't seen the best of it for a couple of years.
Yeah, look, Richie, obviously disappointing because, like I said, he's been a real key contributor for us. But again, it's kind of how our season's gone. We kind of get one back, we lose one. So again, we'll just have to compensate for him being out. With Sess, it is a tough one because through no fault of his own, he's obviously worked hard to try and come back, and it's always more challenging when it kind of happens, as a series of events, and he hasn't really had any reward for all the hard work he's put in terms of his rehab to at least get out there and play and do what he loves, and as you say, just show people, his abilities. So it's a tough one for him, but he'll get all the support he needs. He's had his surgery now, and he's still a positive guy, and he's obviously been through this before. So hopefully that helps him to come back stronger and get out there and playing.
You mentioned the stop-start nature to the season. You start, and then you have that September break, then you have the one in October, November. You still got one more international break to come. Would you like to see, as a club manager, the calendar change and all internationals being played, even if we started the season later, so you just had a straight run through?
No, I don't think so. I think part of the reason for us is that, obviously we've got no European football. We were out of the Carabao Cup really early, so obviously we had the Chelsea game, sort of schedule change. So it's just been a combination of things for us. It's not so much the international window. It's just been a combination of things that hasn't allowed us to sort of, like I said, apart from the start of the season, have a real sort of serious run of games for us to build, momentum and a little bit of rhythm within the lads. And obviously we've had a lot of injuries as well, which haven't helped. So it's just been the nature of the season that's you kind of hope's a little bit unique, and hopefully next year will be different.
Finally, you're in a battle with Aston Villa to finish fourth. In terms of, I remember Arsene Wenger once saying, finishing fourth or finishing in a Champions League place was like winning a trophy. I'm not saying it's exactly like winning a trophy. Would it feel like success to you if you did nail Champions League by the end of the season?
I'm not really sure. I haven't read the competition rules, but my understanding is that we're not just battling for fourth place at this stage.
Okay, Ali.
Hi there, Ange. On Sess, is there any chance of him coming back before the end of the season? Or is
No,
it now?
he's had surgery, so he'll be out for a while.
And with him, obviously, he had surgery on the other hamstring. That strengthened that hamstring. Is that the kind of hope now that, he's only 23, that this now fixes these issues going forward?
Yeah, I'm sort of reluctant to talk about the medical side of it because it's not my field. But as I said, he's getting the best sort of support and advice he can, and hopefully they find sort of a way to give him an opportunity, like I said, to do what he loves. He's not, it's through no fault of his own. He's doing everything he possibly can to get himself fit and get him up to be able to physically do what he loves to do, and hopefully this helps it.
Sorry for another injury one, but Manor Solomon, how's he doing?
Yeah, Manor sort of progressing, but still not sort of anywhere near sort of rejoining the group. Still got a bit of way to go. Again, it's a bit another frustrating one for him. He's been working really hard. He's been keen to get back, and we were kind of hoping for an earlier return date, but it's kind of been little things along the way that sort of set him back. So, fair to say, as we said, he's still a fair way away from the group.
And George from the BBC, please.
Hello, sorry, just one question. You mentioned you spoke with Harry Redknapp. I just wondered what he said. Has he enjoyed your team's style of play this season as a former Tottenham manager?
Yeah, no, he's been really supportive from kind of when I've arrived. I had a little bit of history because, he took over Jordan. We had him in the World Cup qualifier when I was manager of Australia, and we kind of crossed paths back then, and we reminisced about those days, a long way away from where we are now. But like I said, I enjoy those chats. It's an opportunity for me to kind of talk to people I've admired from afar, and just great to connect.
And sorry, I know you said last night you're not at the level you want the team to be, but how would you judge what you've done with this Tottenham team so far this season? Because the fans are enjoying the style of play. You say you've had your ups and downs, but where are you in your rankings of where you want this team to be?
Well, it's hard because, like I said, I've said a few times, it's not something that I kind of measure as we go along, but I just know that we've got a long way to go with the kind of football we want to play, and even where we are in terms of the squad, we've still got a lot of work to do. Have we made progress? Yes, I believe definitely we've made progress from where we were at the start of the year, and you don't lose sight of that because a lot of people have worked hard to get us to kind of the position we're in right now. But for what I'm sort of looking at in terms of where I want us to be as a team, not as a kind of end point, because hopefully that there isn't an end point, you keep improving, but just the elements of the team I want to see, the way we play, and like I said, where the squad is and how we work and the staffing. I just think we've got a long way to go, and that's also exciting, because we're hopefully setting up a really strong foundation to build upon.
George, please.
Hi, Ange. This sort of 2-week break, has it kind of allowed you and the squad to really nail down the key principles again, which sort of felt like we saw a lot more consistently during those kind of opening months of the season?
No, I think it's just been a continuation sort of what we've been building on. Again, like I said, because of it has been a disruptive season, and you don't lose sight of the fact that it's kind of first year of not just implementing a new game style, the way we train, new players coming in, the squad's changed a fair bit anyway. So, and then when you sort of layer on the injuries and other sort of disruptions we had from terms of cohesiveness for the team, there's been a lot of factors that have been really, really challenging. So what we've tried to do is just maintain a real focus on making sure that irrespective of what's going on, that we keep every day trying to improve the principles of our play. As you said, it's not about so much about reinforcement, just continuing on the same road, on the same path of making sure we're sort of focusing on the right things.
And it's rare that you have a weekend without a game. Did you manage to spend any time with the family in London, or was you at games watching?
No, like I said, you try and keep it pretty normal. So we were in on last Saturday anyway, training. So it's just really had Sunday off, which is a normal sort of weekend for us. But there's still work to be done.
And just with Richarlison's injury, you've obviously got a lot of attacking options, but not many out-and-out forwards. Does Richarlison's injury kind of open the door for Dane Scarlett, who's had a difficult season, to try and end that difficult season with a real contribution to the team over the coming weeks? Yeah,
but that door's never closed. It's he trains with us every day. So for all the players, they're all in the same boat. That door is always open. If you're waiting for some, secret magic door to open, that doesn't exist. The door is always open. They have an opportunity every day to put themselves in front of me, the coaches, to make an impact, and then wait for their opportunity. But as you said, Dane's had a difficult season, but it's great we got him some game time with the 21s last week. I think that was important, because when you actually look at the match minutes he's actually played this year, it's way too low for a guy like him who really needs some game time. So it was great to get him some game time in the 21s, and I think that's sort of helped him as well, and he's trained well this week.
Okay, we'll move on to the embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. Matt?
We're quite used to hearing managers say they want less games, too many games. Feels from the first part that you maybe said you'd like more games. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Because, I think when, again, for us, a club like us who wants to, sort of when you want to compete, at the highest level against the best, you need a strong squad. To have a strong squad, you need consistent games and consistent game time and opportunities. So, at the moment, if we get an injury, we're liable to throw in somebody who hasn't played for 4 or 5 weeks. It just doesn't. It's not easy on that player. Whereas if you've got games, there's a natural rotation that you need to make there all the time, and also gives you a little bit of rhythm. Whereas, I'm not saying, I had the other extreme last year, or last couple of years at Celtic. We were playing 60+ games a year, but I found that a lot easier to manage than having less games, or like I said, to having a disrupted season like we've had this year.
So you don't, because Europe's kicking in again for the clubs around you. You don't think you've got an advantage now to the end of the season in that you've got fewer games?
I don't know. I don't think there's advantage or disadvantage. It depends how you use that time. But if you're asking me, would I rather be in Europe? Absolutely. 1,000% I'd rather be in Europe at this time playing games.
How do you sort of recreate intensity is obviously a massive part of your style, and I guess it's very difficult to recreate that match intensity during these long weeks of training, but I guess you've got to try. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of that?
Yeah, we do try and sort of replicate. You can't, obviously you can't do it sort of exactly the same way as game day, because there are other sort of variants that come into that. But certainly on a daily basis, we try and train at a tempo and intensity that's going to be close to replicating what happens on game day. And we've done that consistently all year anyway, irrespective of whether we've got a game or not. What we adjust is the amount of time we're out there. So, if we want a less volume session, we just, tone down the time. So, we're out there for less minutes, but the intensity and tempo stays the same. So, and I think it's probably been the one area of our game this year that's been consistent. And if there's one area of our game that's kind of got us to where we are right now, it has been that when you look at some of the physical parameters across the league, we've been outstanding, and I think that's kind of helped us overcome, the lack of, for want of a better term, sort of the quality in our play at times.
You're talking about data, what the data's showing you. Can you be a bit more specific about what yardage you cover?
No, it's just, most of the, I think most of the high-speed metrics, I think we'd be top of the league. And like I said, I think you need something. I try and paint an accurate picture of how I feel about how we're going, but we're going okay. We're going maybe better than okay, and I think there's a reason for that. And you can look for reasons why we're not going better, but there's some pretty strong reasons why we are where we are as well.
Just back to Richarlison, he was pretty open about his mental, psychological obstacles he had earlier this season. So it was a bit of a setback for him personally with this injury. How is he psychologically?
Yeah, no, as far as I know, he's disappointed he's injured and he's not playing, but aside from that, he's sort of into his rehab now, and he's luckily we've got sort of the international break in between, so hopefully only means he'll miss sort of the couple of games this side of it and be ready for after.
With all these injuries this season, that's a pre-season where you assume that describe you as a father-like figure. Does it feel like you've had to, that sort of pastoral element of looking after the players has had to be on another level this season?
To a certain extent, but at the same time, I'm not a sort of one-man show. There's a lot of good people at the club that, and a lot of the coaches and a lot of the sort of, medical or sports science staff spend a lot more time with the players individually than I do. And, I think they've done a great job in sort of helping guys through their processes. Obviously, I'm there, when needed, or if I feel like I need to sort of, help the process as much as I can, but also, I understand that, a lot of times, players have maybe closer relationships or are more comfortable with people they're working a lot closer with on a daily basis, and I think that's important. But again, it's not where we want to be. As I keep saying, I still think there's a lot of things we need to adjust in the way we work, and with our environment, which is not being critical of what we've got at the moment, but it was impossible that everything was going to change in 8 months or 9 months of me working here. So we've still got areas we can improve there.
Just finally, Brian Sessegnon, after he had surgery, put a message out on social media in which he basically appealed to fans to be kind, effectively, not abusing online, which was quite depressing to read. What did you make of that, and what does that say about where we're at as a...
Yeah, look, I didn't read it. They made me aware of it, and look, I guess the easy thing to say is, look, just stay off social media. And it's easy for me to say, and I can do that. But I guess for younger people, it's a vehicle for them, or a platform for them to kind of have a voice, which I can't understand. But you also, they've got to be mature enough to also know that sometimes the audience, I think, for want of a better term, social media is like walking into the prison yard and saying you're innocent. You're not going to get a hell of a lot of sympathy, and most of it's going to be coming back at you, So if you're kind of prepared for that, then, but if you're jumping in there to try and feel good, my sense of it, and like I said, I'm not all over it, but you'll rarely come away feeling any really good about yourself, even with the most, genuine of reasons for saying what you want to say or putting out what you want to put out. It's just that kind of platform that you invariably, you're going to come away from it probably thinking I shouldn't have said anything.
Tom.
And obviously been a huge amount of injuries for Spurs this season. Whether you think the kind of stop-start nature of the season, maybe lack of match rhythm is even contributing?
Look, I think it's something you look at sort of from an overall perspective. There's no doubt that also the change in the training regime has an impact as well, because it's not something that it's the first time I've experienced. It's happened to me before when I've come into clubs that the first year there's always a little bit of an uptick in injuries. We've had sort of unusual ones this year. I mean, we lost Perisic and Solomon with knee injuries, training at the beginning of the year, which was a bit random. So you kind of you'd like to think that's not always going to happen, but a lot of the injuries are just the way we train and the way we play, and players understanding that, sports science stuff, understanding that, medical team understanding that, and making adjustments. Some of it, I think, could be the schedule, that we just haven't had a clean run at it. So I think but all those things you kind of review along the way. But more importantly, when you get to the end of the year, I think it's important you keep an open mind and kind of look at every area and see, because I don't think you should be dismissive of it and just think, oh, well, it was just a one-off, it's never going to happen again. You kind of got to look into it and see whether we can do things better next year, so that, if the schedule's a bit better and we do have, European football, then, that adds a different sort of challenge to us, but hopefully we're better prepared for it.
It feels like a kind of high-intensity game, you talk about high-speed sort of thing. It's the kind of thing you can't just do without the monotony doing it over and over again, right?
Yeah, and there's and it's, some of it's just the players getting used to it themselves, physically, mentally, of every day, sort of training at those levels and then performing at those levels. And I certainly, just my experience, I see that over time, they do become, their bodies adjust and they become more resilient to it. But there's also a science to it, which is not my field, that helps us along in that way. But I think that is a contributing factor to kind of, why we've had sort of the disruptions we've had.
Is there one thing you change in the schedule to make it a bit more smoother for everybody? Those who are playing those who are not playing?
No, not really, because I mean, again, some of our disruptions is self-inflicted. If we'd had a better run in the cups and if we're in Europe, then I wouldn't be sitting here doing so. Some of it's in our control, but like I said, when you look at this year, and I just think I just haven't felt, and maybe it's because of the contrast of where I've come from, where like I said, at Celtic, we were having games every 3 days, and you kind of get into that mode, and just this year, the start of the year felt like that. We were playing games, there was rhythm, there was momentum there, and then just since then we've just kind of haven't been able to get the same sort of flow and rhythm into our schedule, and obviously some of that's our own sort of doing. So you got to accept that, one way to remedy that is to make sure we get more games for ourselves next year.
You won't change that half-life to integrate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, even that sort of this year was kind of a bit weird. So, I don't know. Look, far be it from me to get involved in scheduling, mate. I'm good at being told where to be and what to do.
Just actually one more on the answer you gave us about social media, which is interesting. Have you said that to the players, or do you leave the young people alone?
No, you kind of give them advice, but I like I said, at the same time, I'm always reticent to kind of dictate, because I'm not in their shoes, and who's to say if I wasn't, in my early 20s, living today as a footballer, that I wouldn't be all over social media. So I'll maybe sit there now. It's like when people say to me, well, you can't get kids off their iPads or off their PlayStations. In our day, we're always outside. Well, to be fair, we had no option. If we had the option, maybe I would have been inside too. So you've got to try and have some sort of understanding. But at the same time, I do try and provide a little bit of counsel in terms of, they need to understand that everything you have, access to in your life, for whatever good stuff you get out of it, there's always kind of a responsibility and understanding, and there needs to be a maturity that there's a possibility of not so good stuff being there as well, and you've got to be prepared for that. If you're not, or if you're kind of, it affects you really badly if it comes the other way, then you're probably better off. It's probably a sense that you're not ready for entering that world. But again, that's advice from an old bloke, mate. I don't know how much they listen, and I don't know how much of it's right. So like I said, all I can do is provide counsel, sort of, from my experience.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.